Hey y'all, I just recently got done with my first reconnaissance class. I'm going to name this Patriots Awakening Recon 1, and it focuses mostly on movement techniques. But I wanted to give an AAR from this class while it was fresh in my mind. This was the first one that I did, and actually it's the first block of instruction that I have ever given where I felt really confident and happy with the results of the training. So man, it's beautiful. The weather is warming up slightly. It's springtime. The Cooper Hawk babies are just learning to fly right now out here on the property. You won't really be able to see it in the footage, I don't think, because of the limitations of this camera. But it's a beautiful day out, so I've got a lot of things to talk about, not only about the AAR from this class and what I learned, but also a little bit about the Dunning-Kruger effect and how we're going to go forward from here in organizing solid rock survival for the coming season and years. So stick around. Hello, I'm Jacob, your host, and you're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. If you enjoy the content, I'd ask that you like and subscribe. Also, check out the description box below, and you can see where you can support this channel through Patreon, through my websites, Beach and Tactical, where I sell rifle slings, as well as Exodus Knife and Tool, where I sell my knives. We also have affiliate links in there, and the sponsor for this month is myself. April 1st, I'm going to be doing an auction on some of the rarest Exodus Knife and Tool knives that I've ever had, to include one-off prototypes and my own personal knives. We will also have some other really cool knives, and all of these proceeds will either go to the release of the Exodus Knife and Tool Legionnaire for setup and tooling, or they will go directly to Knife Rights. That will be clarified on April 1st and in future videos. There is some really legendary stuff that's going to be available, so if you are interested, make sure you're there, because this is a chance that will never come again. Anyways, let's get you right back to the content. Alright, so whether you just watched all of that monologue or you skipped through it, congratulations on still being with me here today. By the way, I know that my lighting is absolutely terrible for what we are doing, but it's just an AAR, right? That is an after actions report. The biggest thing that stood out to me in this class involves the Dunning-Kruger effect, and if you're not familiar with it, maybe I'll do a video someday, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube that do a fantastic job at this. But there's a side to the Dunning-Kruger effect that people don't really talk about. And just a brief synopsis is the less you know about something, the more confidence you have. And so the other side of this that is often not talked about is the more you know about something, the more you know that you don't know. And that can lead to people that are very proficient at a skill or topic who think that they don't really know anything. They don't really know anything to teach other people. They don't really know enough to teach other people. And I definitely fall under this class in a few ways, and I'm trying to break free of that with both bushcraft and with tactics. And so what I realized during this class, I was teaching a really motivated, good group of dudes, and I was constantly teaching. You know, less than every 100 yards I was teaching. And I had so much to share with them, and some things that I take for granted were new to them. And it's not because they're stupid. Someone's going to take this in the wrong way, I'm sure. The guys who are in the class are not going to take it the wrong way, but this is something that I'm pretty passionate about and that I spent years doing. And for a regular person who didn't do that, there are a lot of little things, from packing bags to movement techniques and gear selection that people didn't realize. Obviously, a lot of terms. And so it really encouraged me, like, there's a lot that I can do to help. So the class is going to be called Patriots Awakening, because there are essentially two tactics that are appropriate to the citizen defender, and that is ambush and break contact. But a more important overarching thing than either of those is gathering intel. It's going to be your reconnaissance up here. And so whether or not you're able to ambush is going to depend on that reconnaissance, and you need to be incredibly proficient at breaking contact while doing either reconnaissance or if an ambush goes bad, because we're talking about extremely small unit tactics. So Patriots Awakening, we focus on movement techniques and getting out with moving with a firearm and a bag. People don't understand how much different a little stroll in the woods with a bag and a rifle is, and then they don't understand how much more difficult it is to be breaking brush than it is to be on a trail. And even in the military, a lot of times when you're ruck marching or you're out in the field, you spend a lot of time on existing paths, depending on your MOS and who's in charge. Now, of course, if you are infantry, you've also spent hundreds of hours in the middle of the night with nods on, carrying an M249 saw, following an LT who is lost right directly through the middle of briar bushes. That's not necessarily an experience that I want to pass on to my students. However, understanding a little bit of the suckfest, the level of difficulty that comes with realistic tactical movements was part of the class. So we were traversing some incredibly steep, incredibly thick stuff, and it was very difficult. And this teaches people firsthand the hard way why so many of these things are important, and then you stack on top of that moving tactically, watching where you're going, pulling security in your designated area, watching where you're stepping, watching for your spacing for the guys in front of you and behind you. It can be overwhelming to someone who's new to this. And so originally I intended for this class to be a lot more hardcore and to incorporate a lot more things into it. I wanted it to be a 2-day class. I hurt my back and we had to go down to a 1-day class, and I'm glad that we did. I think that it was a blessing in disguise, because starting off in a class like this, I think we really need to focus on movement and on all of these little things that you have to pay attention to, all of the hand and arm signals, the communication that a small team needs to be able to have together while moving. We need to focus on those things, because although breaking contact is probably the most important thing that you can train, understanding what recon is and how to do it and how to move properly so that you never have to break contact because you never get seen in the first place is even more important. So that's what we did throughout this class. We did get into bounding, which is something that I am going to keep in the curriculum for this first day. Now, we could spend an entire week every single day on working a team of guys to communicate proficiently while bounding. We could teach them how to talk guns. We could go from the open field dry experience all the way to the rough terrain breaking brush bounding, people staying in their lanes, not crossing lanes of fire, talking guns, all of that stuff. But we don't have a week for that class, so this will be an introduction thing. We'll do another class in the future for people who've taken the first class or who have a little bit of experience already to work on some of those things. But this class is really focusing on linear danger areas, basic movement, basic formations, basic hand signals. And one of the things that I continuously taught the guys, there's a funny story. when I was practicing bounding in basic training, I was in a leadership position and I was yelling, "Cover me while I move." That was what we were told to yell at the time. Some people will hate that. But this other guy, National Guard guy, started arguing with me. He's like, "It's not cover me while I move. It's tell me why I move." And I was like, "What? Tell me why I move?" And this was during a time, this was 2009, 2008, something like that, during a time where tell me why was this really popular saying. It never made any sense to me. It pissed me off because I'm pedantic and it makes no sense. Tell me why tell me why you. Nobody ever actually meant for you to tell them why something. It just became this weird saying. But anyways, what I told to the team is the words that I'm using are not important. You have to build SOPs in your own team. You don't have to speak English. You don't even have to use words, but you have to be able to communicate effectively, and you have to understand the intent. If you understand the intent and how to do it, you can build SOPs that are that cater to your team for that. I know at tactical response, a big thing is at times not vocally communicating things that do not need to be vocally communicated. There's great concepts behind that. It's a great thing to teach. It's a great thing to learn. I think I'm teaching it the dumbed down Army way, but I am content with that because the dumbed down Army way is intended, let's be honest, for some really dumb private kids. And again, understanding the intent of what you are doing in movements is more important than the specific hand signal or the specific words used. If I am teaching a group of people that speak a different language, they don't need to vocalize to each other in English. They can modify what they say into their preferred language and use a different language. If they don't like a certain hand signal, if they don't want to go across the body for an LDA, fine, man, stick your finger in your nose. Do whatever you want to do as long as the person that you are with, the team that you are with, knows your SOPs, knows what to look for, and can react appropriately. So basically, AAR, what I would like to improve on, I would like to have printed out material that I can give to the people after the class so they can go back and refresh for their own practice after the class and they can continue their education. Guys, training is learning something with tutelage under somebody who is more educated than yourself. Practice is repeating what you learned in training, and everything else is just screwing around. So I want to encourage them to continue practicing, and to help them do that, I would like to give them a printed out document specifically with what we went over in class so they can continue to work together and progress. I'd like to do I will do that. I'd also like to do a preparatory video for people to watch before they come to class so they can get some of the hand signals down and some of the other things, kind of make the class roll more smoothly. And then I'm going to do a gear list video. It will be a little bit more of a generic video for movements in general, but somebody asked me, they had a Kelty or Kelly, whatever that brand is, the old school brand, bags, and they were getting a little bit torn up and a little bit roughed up. They're not necessarily, as far as I know, bad bags, but just like an Osprey that I took, which is a fantastic bag, which I took to the field like one time and got really tore up for who knows why, they're not necessarily field grade. Once again, the average person is walking down a path, walking in comfortable weather, walking at their own pace. So when you start being absolutely outside of your comfort zone, you're breaking brush, you're going through thorns, you're falling down, you're in the rain, you're in the sun, everything else, it is exponentially harder on you and on your gear. So I would like to give people some recommendations before class on what would be optimal to use for the class. But at the same time, you do not need to have good gear to get a good education. If all you've got is a JanSport school backpack for a class, that's a bad idea for if you're actually into some of this, or if we're doing a longer class, or if you're doing a week OP or something like that. Terrible idea, right? It's going to mess up your back. You're going to rip the crap out of your bag. You're going to be carrying stuff back home. You're going to be duct taping. You will injure yourself because of your inferior bag. But for a one-day class, maybe it's going to suck. Get used to the sucking, because the reality is what we are training for in this class will likely leave you in a situation where you have subpar gear. That's fine. But I would still like to, so, you know, and not everybody had all of the gear that we had on the list. Good. Here's the thing. We do adult rules. So if you forget your gear and you're going to be a little bit cold or wet, then you're going to be a little bit cold and wet. Now, someone can obviously lend you some gear that they overpacked, or that they packed, or that they're carrying out, whatever the case may be. But if you lack it, we are going to move forward anyways, despite the fact that you lack it, because that is in and of itself good training. So this video has gone far too long, probably had far too little actual content, but this is something that I'm really excited about, guys. You see, all these other YouTubers sit in their closet, in their house. They hang some little guns behind them, like, oh, look at me, I'm so cool. All they're doing is they are marketing. They're marketing a feel to people who just want to buy. They're marketing little bits of information in a huge block of entertainment. They're giving information commercials, but they're lacking substance. They don't have any substance to give. I've always wanted to do videos in the woods, and part of that is because I think that's how it should be done, but also part of that is because I need to constantly be in the woods with gear, with stuff, because this is it. This is for me, right? I probably wouldn't be in the woods as much as I am if I wasn't doing projects on the property and if I wasn't doing videos. Like, once all the projects are done on the property, when I'm not doing videos, I'm probably gonna be running go-karts with the kids, running dirt bikes, having an off-road course, running RCs, doing whatever I do with the property, hunting. But if I wasn't doing videos, would I be out here every day just walking through the property with a rifle, with something in my hand, with a bag, with whatever else I'm doing? No, I wouldn't. And it's good to continually do. It's good to do tactically, and it's good to remember, like, if you are moving tactically, you're watching your steps, you're pulling security, you're doing all of the things that you need to do. If you can just forget about all of that and walk normally and walk more quickly, it's a relief. You're like, finally, mission's over, field time's over. I can just walk like a normal person without all of that. Because even though you're walking more slowly, I guarantee you, you are burning more calories and using more mental energy when you're doing all of that extra crap. So these I'm very excited about this, guys. Now, this class will likely have to be done less on a rotational schedule and more by as a private class. It'll probably be more expensive. I have to do Recon the day before, and it pretty much has to be on private property, and it pretty much has to be on the right private property. Like, I can be flexible and we can make a lot of stuff work, but I just don't think that going down to a national park or going down to a regular range is going to cut it. So this will not likely be my most popular class. It most likely will not be a class that I do often. This will be a class that I'll post information on, and that if you get a group of guys together, you're probably going to have to email me, and we'll talk about how we're going to do it. We'll talk about pricing. I don't have pricing set yet, but I also simultaneously think that this class, my more advanced classes, will be better in a lot of ways for more advanced people, but I think this class, Patriots Awakening, I think is going to be the cornerstone of my training and education. So I'm very excited about it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Love it, hate it, subscribe, do the bell, whatever things that everybody tells you to do and whatever. But I'll talk to you in the comment section below, and I hope that you have a blessed day.